when you first came in here, we looked just briefly at this table here. There's a lot of very interesting little motors on this table. They were invented in Mendocino. That is to say, the original one that I saw was invented in Mendocino by two people down there, mainly Doug Doe and Bob Blick. And Doug was the one that made it and showed it to me, so I usually, in my writings, I give him credit for the motor. But anyway, they showed me one motor, and so I just got into the act. I made a whole series of motors of different kinds. So I'll start out here to show you my first one. Now this is the first one I made after I saw Doug Doe's motor. And I can use an electric light to turn them, so they turn out in the sunlight too, but I just don't want to carry them all out there. So you can see this one is turning with the light. Now, the cell only faces the sun 1/4 of the time, and so it isn't supposed to be that efficient, because here we have a motor where the cell is sitting there facing the sun all the time, and so you have a little motor, but you have to keep reversing the field with the commutator to make this little motor turn. These little motors just time themselves with the sunlight. But anyway, the second motor I made was this one here, and I put the cells out in the open here so I could put a mirror behind it, so that it would run with a mirror, and to get the right place for this to run. Anyway, when I put the mirror behind it, this is what happened. I'll show you over here on this one. It's turning, and if you get the light from the back, the mirror, it goes back the other way. So one worked against the other, and nothing was happening. Rather than try to design the motor that would turn with the mirror and the front both, which might be possible, I just liked the simplicity of these little motors, so I didn't go any further with that thought. Now here's a little motor where I put the solar cell right on the motor itself, and I put the shaft of the motor down in that block, and so it just spins there, and the whole motor's turning. These little motors have a photovoltaic cell or solar cell right on the surface there, and each time that cell comes up, it energizes a coil that reacts with these here magnets and makes that motor turn. Now, I have some real high-speed little motors here. I don't know if you can hear them, or maybe hard to even see them, but they really rev up. They really turn. Maybe you can hear that. I've never timed them, and of course the hotter the light, the faster they would turn. I should say the brighter the light, it's just the same thing as hotter. And I would say that it's probably turning around 10,000 RPMs right now. Now here's a little motor that I made that it's a reversible motor. In other words, here's a little handle back here. And I can flip this handle other way over, like that, and the motor reverses. I'll turn it a little bit to the side, maybe you can see it a little better. I'll flip this handle over. The motor reverses. What's happening there is that I have a magnet in here, and this handle flips that magnet over. There's a magnet inside this drum here, and the cells and the coils are turning over that magnet. So when I flip this magnet over, this one is close enough so it makes this one flip over inside that drum. There's no electrical connection, no wire connection, things like that to it. It's simply a magnetic connection. Here's a little one I made that has a couple of propellers on it that setting on top of speaker magnets, and they'll both turn. I can actually turn it around different positions like that, and they'll still run because no matter where they are on top of that magnet, they're in the right position to turn. Now this little motor here, I call it a skeleton motor because it's just one coil turning right over the magnet. So if I start that going, it'll turn. You can actually see right through the coil and see the magnet inside there. Because the coil is turning so fast, you can see right through it. It's only got a single coil and 2 cells on it anyway, so it has an opening area you can see through. Now there's a little commercial tool or gadget or whatever you want to call it. It's a kind of a horizontal top. It's riding on magnetic bearings, and you can spin that, and it'll spin a long time because it's quite frictionless. So somebody had one over there and they wanted me to see it, so I went over to see it, and I couldn't see the magnets in here, but I could tell how it had to be operating. So I come back home and I made a little rough model of that motor here that's riding on magnetic bearings. And then in order to make it turn constantly while the sunlight's on it, I put a little solar motor in there. These are called little Mendocino brushless solar motors, and it's on magnetic bearings. As far as I know, this is the first one the world has ever seen, is this little motor on magnetic bearings running this type of solar motor. I've made a lot of them since then, a lot of different models and what things. And here's one here, for instance. It's has 6 cells on it. It'll sit there and spin. Sitting right up in the air there. This is all floating up in the air, but it just turns itself there. The reason I put these here metal guards on there, that if somebody was to pick this motor up and walk with it, it could fall off of this here magnetic field and hit the magnet that's underneath there, and it could crack the cells. So I put these guards around just for protection of it. Magnets are a lot of fun to play with, and there's a lot of things you can do with magnets. Here's a little motor in a glass jar. You see the armature turning in there. Cells are put up on top. And all you can do is open up 1/4 of that. If you open up more than that, it will work against itself. If I turn this around to the opposite side, it actually reverses the direction of it. So it's just another form of the same thing. They all operate the same way. The interaction of the circular magnetic field interacting with the straight magnetic field between 2 magnets or over a magnet. These little fellows are just sitting there on top of a magnet, and they're riding on the magnetic field around that magnet. So I can just push them up and down. They're very flexible. Just riding up in the air there and sitting on that spindle and just turn. Here's a toy that somebody gave me. They said they thought I'd like it, and I really do. It's a very nice little toy. And it's a music box is what it is. If I open this up, it'll play. It'll play Happy Birthday to you. The things you've learned in this here experimental shop kind of is like a birthday to you, because there's a whole series of things that you can use as time goes on, and I'm sure you will appreciate and enjoy the knowledge of what we've learned here. So I guess that kind of concludes this part, but I do want to show you some of the books I have. I'm not trying to sell you these books. I want to show you that they are available. So I'll just get them out just a moment.